All right, good evening. I've got 6 o'clock. I'm going to call the meeting to order. We'll all rise and say the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please take a look at your agendas. I'd like to add item 12 under new business. Set a special meeting the 29th of December at 6 p.m. If there are no other additions or changes, a motion would be in order to approve the agenda as written, or excuse me, as amended. Yes.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Please take a look at your regular meeting minutes from the 3rd of December.
Motion to approve the December 3rd council meeting minutes as written.
Second. Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes 5-0. Move on to accounts payable. Sarah?
There's a few of note. If you take a look at 75368, that is for the migration to the cloud. So that's a CARES Act one, and 75398 Schumacher Excavating for repairs on the streets. And 75404 to WHKS for engineering for, I'm not sure what, but
General, just different project engineering and engineering, years north of mileage,
oh, sure.
multiple projects.
Okay. So if anyone or no one has any questions, I'll make a motion to approve the accounts payable in the amount of $92,344.77.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Any clarification council would want on a line item? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Sarah. Move on to the public comment portion of the meeting. This is part of the meeting where if you had something to comment on to the council that was either on the agenda or not on the agenda, this would normally have been the appropriate time. But in the age of COVID, we have asked that comments directed to council this time be delivered beforehand through email or written. Have we had any public comments, Ryan?
None for me.
Kim?
None for me.
Ryan, did you have any public comments?
No public comment.
Thank you. Hopefully, in a calmer, more normal time, we'll be able to revert back to our normal method of doing public comments. But for right now, I'm going to close the public comment section of the meeting. We'll move on to our first item of new business, item 10A. Chief, you've got a nuisance hearing here tonight, or what? I don't, a line item at least.
And so we had two notices of abatement that were provided to two residents. One is representing himself here tonight. The other is not. Neither of them have complied with the abatement. You're familiar with Mr. Steams's nuisance that I've provided information to the council in regards to the conditions of his property. So he is here tonight to represent himself in regards to probably the purposes of why it hasn't been abated.
Thanks, Chief. Questions for the chief? If not, Mr. Seams, if you'd like to join us. Mr. Seams?
Come on in. You can have a seat at that table there if you'd like.
Good evening, Mr. Seams. My name is Brad. How are you tonight? My name is Brad Dracon. How are you tonight?
I wasn't very ill, so I'm kind of down on things.
Well, tonight is your night to talk to us about what's going on in your property. So maybe you'd like to just give us an idea of where you're at.
Well, the day before Thanksgiving, I was at hospital at the Rochester Olmsted County Medical Center, and I got checked out, and they started operating, and then they said, well, come back on Friday. That would be the what do you call that, Black Friday.
Sure.
So it'll be 3 weeks. I had a hernia. I had it back in 2014, well, late 2013, and I lived in Minneapolis at the time. Went to Abbott Northwestern facility and saw a medical doctor there that specializes in hernia repairs. And anyway, he says, well, you know, I've seen a lot worse hernias than what you have there. Does it bother you? I said, no, I didn't even know about it until I felt down there. And he says, well, you know, you probably ought to have it looked and assessed and so on. And he didn't make a big thing of it. And then he says, well, you want to have surgery? And he said, it'll lay you up for about 5-6 weeks. I said, well, what would you do if you were a patient? He says, probably not. He says, what? He says, if you ever have complications like an accident, you know, falling out of a tree, get assaulted, which that was kind of big up in Minneapolis, but you know, I wasn't part of Black Lives Matter or anything, but he says if you have an auto accident or something like that, he says you better have it checked on right away, completely. So anyway, I let things ride, and then on 9/11 last year, I was riding my bicycle and car was backed into me, and I went flying over the hood. Actually, it grazed me and stuff like that, and I had trouble with there, so I had it looked at the Olmsted County Medical Center, and he said, well, you got pain? I said, I think it's probably not that. It's probably nerves. I have what do you call those? Have problems with ulcer, lacerated ulcer or something. Then he fell out and he said, oh, you better have that done repaired. So that's why I had it repaired. And it's kind of laid me up, and then I got orders. I've had some of that thing before, and then orders, and now I guess they want me to tear down a shed, metal shed that I didn't erect. It was there on the property. It was a guy that rented it, and so that was quite a job taking it. But it was starting to collapse. I'm not lying about that. And the guy had a lot of junk in there, I've been, make a long story short, I guess I would have, if I didn't have that shed to worry about, would have had pretty well everything done as far as cleanup and that, because I took about 2 loads out. I got a dumpster full now, cart. So anyway, got some automobiles and truck, supposed to have those on one contract with a multi-vehicle, a discount and so on, and never did get back with State Farm. They didn't even recognize this accident. Progressive did, and I would have gotten paid if I could have gotten a detailed explanation on the accidents that I had on 9/11 of last year, and I'm still fighting about that. Could have gotten some well, it's a reproduction, I guess they call that. But anyway,
Mayor?
Yes,
Matt Rockney, could I just interject for a second?
absolutely, Matt.
I was just wondering if Mr. Seams,
I had things like,
City Attorney Matt Rockney that would like to, City Attorney Matt Rockney is attending the meeting virtually. He'd like to ask a question or make a statement. If you don't mind, I'm going to let Matt Rockney, he's on the screen over there. He's got a question or a comment. Go ahead, Matt.
I was just wondering if Mr. Seams had a chance to review the notice that Chief Callahan served on him, the notice to abate nuisance. Did he read that?
Matt is wondering if you got the notice from Chief Callahan about abating the nuisance, if you had a chance to look at that yet. Chief, evidently you've presented a
what?
nuisance.
Yeah.
And Matt wants
I've
to
been
know,
working on it, but it's been very, very hard with this injury. And I thought I thought it was a lacerated problem rather than a hernia deal.
If I could just talk again, I just have a few questions. Number one, did you read the notice? Number two, do you agree with the statements that the chief had in there? And number three, if you are in agreement, are you willing to clean it up? And then number four, how much time do you need?
Well, clean it up, but I'm deaf in that ear. I don't hear, so I need a hearing aid. I'm supposed to be getting money on this whole situation. I got some Marty Kelly. He's a good friend of mine now. We went to the same college. We talked. He's much younger than I am, but he went to bat for it, and it said that the car backed into me while I was on a bicycle.
so you're saying that injury has meant that you haven't had time to address your property properly. That's what I'm getting, is that you're saying that the reason that you haven't been able to clean up your yard is because of the injury?
Well, I have 2 more days, I was done, but the shed is what put me in, you know? I don't get any help at all. I know doggone well. I can't sleep at night. I have nightmares and things go through my mind because I see this car backing up and hitting me. And it wasn't on a pulling away from a curb at all. I swear to God that I hope God strikes me dead and I'll go straight to hell. If I'm fine, I'll join a cult or something like that, because I know damn well what happened out there. And it makes me mad that I can't get resolution. They don't have any bicyclists at all here in Zumbrota. You hardly ever see one, you know? Now I can't even ride a bicycle. They gotta have a tricycle and that sort of thing, because I got rotor problem, my shoulder. I'm 78 years old. I shouldn't have to take a lot of abuse.
I hope nobody's giving you any abuse, sir, but Council Hossaker had a question?
Yep, so Mr. Seams, how long do you think it's gonna take you to clean up the property?
Well,
That's what our attorney's asking.
My wife has been bedridden now for a whole week. She was gonna come in here and like this Mustang, she is in her name. She handles that sort of thing. And I'm worried about what's happening to her, you know. You know, I'm a pretty active person. I can take it, but when people back into me on purpose, I don't know, I shouldn't say on purpose, but I always thought it was illegal to back a car out of a parking position. I mean, you ought to see precincts and all over and fire trucks and so on. They back into so they can drive out.
Mr. Seams, am I getting that you're agreeing?
Pardon me?
Are you saying that you're agreeing to clean up your yard?
If I'm doing what now?
Are you saying that you're going to clean up your yard?
Yeah, I don't have any problem with that.
And then do you have any idea how long it will take you?
Well, probably I should have it pretty well done by Monday or Tuesday.
Matt, does that answer your question?
Yes, just looking whether he's admitting that there is a nuisance. And then number two, if so, how much time does he need?
He just
Those
said
are my
that
questions.
he's going to clean it up and he thinks he can have it done by Monday or Tuesday. Is that fair enough, sir?
Should we give him a couple more weeks?
That there's no snow in sight. And I was sort of thinking, the stalemate was tearing that shed down. They put Permatex on the screws. I couldn't get the screws. They wouldn't come apart, so I had to use the Sawzall.
Let me just talk to my attorney for 1 second. Matthew, what's your time frame? How much time can we give him?
If he admits to the nuisance, then I guess the procedure would be if he didn't clean it up, I'd probably have an order drafted by council that would be served on Mr. Seams that where the council finds that there is a nuisance, that it hasn't been abated, and then we give him so much time to abate it. And after that, if not, then I would apply for a court order to allow the city to come on the property and clean it up and assess the costs against the property. So in that order, we could incorporate that he has so many days before, and if he doesn't meet that deadline, then we'd go ahead and apply for the court order.
So you're looking for Mr. Seams to admit that he has a nuisance?
Yes.
Mr. Seams, do you agree that your property has a nuisance, is a nuisance? It's a violation of city code.
And then, I'm not the friendliest person out there when it comes to environment, but I'll tell you one thing. I recycle more than what any other person ever does. I was very sad to know that they took those big dumpsters, roll-off dumpsters out over there. Because you know why they took them out? Because people, they're afraid that their hands are getting dirty with dog pieces or cat pieces or a cat litter. You know, I grew up on a farm. I know a little bit about farming, you know.
Sure.
And this is going to be environmental type of thing. That was a big mistake.
I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second. Yes, sir. Matt, is that satisfactory?
How about this? You know, whether he admits it or not, I think council could make a finding that there is a nuisance. And how about we give him until the next council meeting to clean it up? And if he doesn't, I'll have a proposed order ready to go where that if council approves it, that could be served on Mr. Seams. And he'd have so many days after the next council meeting even to get it cleaned up. And if it doesn't happen by then, we apply for the court order. So we could revisit this at the next council meeting or indicate Mr. Seams has voluntarily agreed to clean it up. He said he could do it by Monday. Let's give him until the next council meeting in January.
January 7th, Mr. Seams, to get it cleaned up.
More than.
Agreeable to the legal counsel from our attorney. All right.
Absolutely.
Mr. Seams, you have until the 7th, and I hope it goes well for you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Hope you have a good night, and I hope your wife gets better. Nobody wants to see anybody sick these days. So thank you for your time tonight, and you're welcome to contact City Hall.
Married to January 8th for 49 years.
Congratulations.
We really hope that your holidays are looking better than they were. So have a great night, sir, and it was nice to meet you.
We solidified.
Tonight, so I'm gonna kick you out. We're gonna move on with our meeting, sir. So if you don't mind, have a good night, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Chief Callahan, is there anything else?
Just in regards to the other one for,
Oh, you're done, Mr. Stevens.
you're good to go.
You're welcome to leave, sir. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Chief?
So in regards to the second nuisance that we had requested in regards to the Hannenberger property off of Third Avenue, she hasn't presented herself here and hasn't complied with the abatement. So
For a motion from council to move forward.
I think we need to move forward, and that one's a simpler one. There's a junk vehicle that's unregistered in the driveway that has received numerous complaints over the last few years. I have not been able to motivate her to remove the vehicle.
So what would you like the motion to sound like, sir?
Well, I guess I'm looking for direction. I mean, we're changing a little bit of what I was looking forward to in regards to Mr. Seams. So what is our next step with that one? She's not here to represent.
It would be the same process.
Matt, go ahead.
Well, I'd say she's in default. So again, council should probably make a finding that there's a nuisance in violation of our ordinance. And I suppose same thing goes. I could have a proposed order ready to go at the next council meeting that could be served on her, specifying a certain deadline. And then if not, we get the court order. So she'll at least get one more stab at it.
But, so then you would like a motion to that effect, to direct staff to present this nuisance in violation of city ordinance?
Yeah, I think if you wanted to make a finding right now tonight that there is a violation and that it's Hannenberger, right?
Yep, correct.
Yeah, that she's in default, then I could have a proposed order ready to go at the next council meeting for you to sign off on, and then that would be served on her. So she'll at least get another chance. And I know it's, we'd like to just get that vehicle out of there, but I think it might look good for due process and notice and opportunity to be heard to do it this way.
Certainly, Matt. Is there a motion to that effect from council?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor?
All right.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Chief Callahan. Thank you, Matt. Perhaps you'll have to make sure with Matt that the title of the motion is everything that you need it to be. Moving on, we'll move on to, there's nothing else, Chief, on that? Okay, thank you. We'll move on to item 10B, 2021 Police MOU, 2% general increase for all non-union staff. Brian?
Yes, staff along with the Personnel Committee recommend approval of the 2021 Police Memorandum of Understanding, which includes the new wage scale from DDA that we had agreed on previously, and a 2% general increase. And along with that, a 2% general increase for all non-union staff as well, along with the new wage scale.
Well, thanks for all your hard work on it. It's good to have this line item here to see it's done. So, any questions for Brian? No, I know, but just staff in general, not just Brian. Yeah.
General.
Yeah.
The general.
It was you in the plural sense, Christina. Any questions about the 2% general increase in the police MOU?
No, do you only want to mention that the MOU is for a wage reopener next year with both unions, as we don't
Yes,
aren't certain of next year's financial environment?
Yes, thanks for that clarification. That is correct. It's for 1 year with a reopener during the third year to look at salary again because of the uncertainty of the economy with all the COVID going on and everything else. So thank you for that.
Any other questions? Not a motion would be in order to approve the MOU. Second. Motion and a second. Any questions, discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Brian. Move on to item 10C, 2021 equipment rental rates. Mike, you with us?
Yes, we do this every year. I advertised this year and only received one quote back from Schumacher Excavating. Those rates did not change from last year. That'd be the same rates. So I'm looking for a motion to accept Schumacher's rental equipment.
Questions for Mike? If not, the motion would be in order to approve the equipment rental rates.
Second it.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Stay with you, Mike. The sidewalk snow removal contract?
Same thing. I only had one bidder after advertising it from Countryside Lawn and Landscape. Across the board, his rates went up $15, and that's after a 3-year contract, and I'd be looking to extend that for another 3-year contract with Countryside.
Questions for Mike? Not a motion would be in order to approve the sidewalk snow removal contract.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor?
All right.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Mike. Move on to item 10E, the 2021 DFA wastewater permit. Bill, perhaps you can walk us through a little bit of this?
Thank you, Mayor. As I believe everybody is aware, DFA is doing a plant expansion. They're in construction right now. They do not anticipate putting their new plant online until later this year. The current discharge permit that we have is an annual permit. It expires here at the end of December. So what you have in front of you tonight is a renewal of that permit for 1 year. A couple notes in here. We've modified a few things in the permit to call out basically that DFA's intention is to cease discharging to the city, though they still have to go through an environmental review process and something called an anti-degradation process, which is basically looking at the stream impacts. So there will be public comment periods that'll be run by the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency that'll be forthcoming this spring. We've also put some notification periods in here that DFA has to notify us of their intent. Also, we have amended the rate to reflect the Ehlers rate study, which I'm going to ask for a change to that. And then also we are imposing, or I should say imposing, sorry, wrong word. We are putting in a minimum concentration penalty as well, because we are anticipating that if they would discharge to the city after they build their plant, they will have very clean water. So we want to make sure it's at least at a certain strength. So Mayor, the version that you have in here, there was a change after this went into your packet. So if I could, I'll just call that number out. You don't necessarily need to look it up, but just so we know this when you approve it tonight. So the rate per pound that we charge for two parameters of wastewater called BOD and TSS. So to reflect the new numbers from Ellers, the numbers that are in your draft version would be changed to $40.76 per pound for BOD, and for total suspended solids, it would be $59.50. And Brian has these numbers as well. So, and then what I'd also like is under, it happens to be 5.1E, again, we will keep track of this, that you're approving a BOD and TSS minimum concentration penalty of $4.50 per pound. So ultimately, after questions, what we'll be asking for is a motion to approve with these two notations.
Thank you, Bill. Any questions for Bill? If not, a motion will be in order to approve the 2021 to 2021 DFA wastewater permit per the changes that Bill has just outlined.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Bill. Move on to item 10F, 2021-2026 solid waste contract approval. Brian.
Yes, thank you. I sent out 4 bid packs to different companies. We received 3 bids back. One company declined to bid. The low bidder was GFL Solid Waste Midwest LLC. The next lowest bidder was Waste Management. A little bit about GFL. When Waste Management purchased Advanced, they had to sell off some assets. And GFL bought those assets and they set up their business down in Rochester. I believe they're where Advanced used to be. They're not a new company to the country, but they're a newer company to the area. The general manager of GFL is David Meyer. He was the one that handled the account in Zumbrota for Advanced. So a lot of familiarity with Zumbrota, and they did a good job. Advanced did a good job for us, and David was there for all the questions, personally handled a lot of things. So anyway, GFL was the lowest bidder, so staff recommends that GFL Solid Waste Midwest LLC be approved for the residential refuse and collectibles or recyclables collection as the low bidder. They will also be issued a commercial industrial license with the opportunity to negotiate individually with commercial industrial customers. And also part of this motion is Waste Management was the second lowest bidder, therefore they will be offered the opportunity to apply for a commercial industrial license to negotiate individually with commercial industrial customers also. This will be a 5-year term, February 1st, 2021 through January 31st, 2026. GFL's, I guess I didn't give the numbers. The numbers are in the packet.
It's quite a bit less.
Yes, yep, they came up with a very good bid. They're eager to, David's eager to keep servicing our community, so we appreciate that.
Well, in advance, a fantastic job. So.
Waste Management has, my bill for the commercial has over doubled. And they keep charging me extra. They put a camera in the truck and say that I don't have recyclables. They're not recyclable when they dump it out. And you can see this flash. It all looks like cardboard and bottles to me. I have no idea. And then they charge you $20, $40 extra.
And that's why we issue 2 of the commercial licenses. So there's a little bit of competition there to work with.
Questions for Brian about the contract? Not a motion.
Super excited about this time.
Do you know, Brian, do you know what we pay right now currently for a 35, a 65, and a 95?
So that's on my desk. I didn't bring it in.
I mean, is it cheaper or lower? I mean,
What's the, I paid for 6 months on, I don't have the biggest one, not the one smaller than the recycling one. I paid $56.16.
I think David is here. He could probably answer that question. Is that David out there? Would you like to come in?
Yeah, definitely. So with the rates, they were within like 10 cents, I believe, where they currently were. So over on a monthly period, it's within 50 cents, I'm going to say, because I know what's under that. So we were able to come up with some good solutions to try to keep the rates down, because the disposal rate has jumped from like $60 a ton to 108 here with the flow being required to go to Red Wing the last couple of months, so.
Yeah, that's another thing that, with the new ordinance, everything goes to Red Wing now. And in past contracts, there were 3 numbers. And the one to Red Wing was always a little more than the other one. So this is, we appreciate the good bid.
So we look forward to it. We'll do a good job. We've got a good team and, like I said, we're excited to work with you guys again, so.
Brian, is that the GFL, the ones that are gonna do half the town one day and half the town the next day? Was that one of them? Okay.
That is one of the things that we're gonna do, and that helped us keep the cost down by
Yeah,
not needing
and I have no
too
problem
much,
with that. I was just.
And we'll work very closely with the city staff on that to make sure it makes sense to residents and obviously us too, so we can provide the service you guys are looking for.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
If there's no other questions, a motion would be in order to approve the contract.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Welcome to town, or welcome back. Move on then to item 10G, ZM High School site improvements. Bill?
Thank you, Mayor. In your packet tonight is a review letter on the school improvements, so just a little background. This is what the school district is seeking, is they're seeking approval of their phase 2 plans. The city council has already approved their phase 1 plans last year, and they've been working on that over the summer. That's basically the Cougar Care and the elementary school side. So what they're asking for tonight is the site approval for basically the high school and their parking lot. If you remember, we did discuss last year about the main thing from the civil site side is how to handle the West Avenue, 7th Street intersection. The school did agree that they would make pedestrian improvements in that intersection. So we'll be putting bump outs at all 4 corners of the intersection. And then the city, you've previously authorized proceeding with putting a new sidewalk on the east side of West Avenue. Letter tonight, fairly straightforward. Just a couple of things I wanted to point out. Under 5D, one of the things we've discussed with them is, they're moving their buses. So the buses will no longer load off of Mill Street. Basically on the west side of the school, they will still enter from Mill Street, but they'll now be parking in what currently is the student and staff lot. One of the things that was not clear to us was where will the buses exit? So they did turn in what we call turning movements. So basically you draw a line of where the buses go, and we check to make sure the wheels don't run over corners, things like that. They submitted that for Mill Street. They did not submit that for West Street. West Avenue. They did tell us that they do intend buses to exit both places. So Brian, this is something, and Mike and Ryan, we learned here. Their engineer did call me today. So we are asking them to submit their, what we call turning movements for their buses. So they will be doing that. Also, wanted to point out that, again, in that intersection of West and 7th, so they'll be putting bump outs in, but we have old storm sewer in that intersection. What staff is recommending is that really that storm sewer should be replaced at the same time. That's really a city responsibility. So what we're recommending in the letter tonight is that the school will go ahead and replace that storm sewer as part of their project, but the city will reimburse the school for that. Otherwise, everything else, talking with the school's engineer today, they intend to make all these revisions. So with that, staff recommendation is to approve the school district site plan.
Yeah, so when West Avenue was reconstructed, they reconstructed it, whatever, 25 years ago, that was not a part of the reconstruction project then. So they just left that old.
Yes.
A lot of that around town. All right.
Any other questions?
No, that's it.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you. No other questions? Motion would be in order to approve the ZM High School plan, the high school site improvements.
So move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Questions?
I want to say a couple.
Oh, sorry, Ryan. Please. Thank you for reminding me. Kate was texting me.
I do have 2 considerations from a zoning standpoint. First consideration is they do have in their plans a plan for 12-foot high fences for the recreation fields. The city ordinances don't clarify recreation versus residential use fences. So for your consideration, at least if you're informed of it, city staff recommend that, that it be accepted due to the unique circumstances that these 12-foot high fences are for recreational purpose, for the recreational fields, and that is for a government entity, that is all internal to the larger lot. Additionally, there is a small corner on the northwest axis that is on another, that is on the nursing homes. So St. Francis Health, it's on property owned by them. So city staff do not know if there's an agreement for that access drive to be approximately 6 feet by 10 feet onto that other property owner. So city staff recommend approval pending clarification as to that, the property, I guess, use of that property for that access drive. If they have an agreement or if they're okay with the current access way to be on there.
Any idea on the time frame of finding that information out?
You'd be calling my target official day tomorrow.
Okay, excellent. Any questions for Ryan? Then we're looking for approval pending the circumstances about the road that you just spelled out. Was someone who would care to make the motion? Second?
Second, but did you want to know how much it is, Tina?
I don't know. It's storm sewer and it comes out of that fund. So I don't know if it makes any,
Project, not the West Avenue.
perfect.
Any other questions?
But the city will have some cost by removing
gotcha.
them thing. That's what Tina's question.
And what's the storm sewer? What are we gonna,
We've asked the school to provide that, because we have to proceed.
okay.
Any other questions? If not, I think we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor?
All right.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Bill and Ryan. Move on to item 10H, Resolution 2020-11, Final Budget and Levy. No change, Kim? Everything's the same as we've seen now for the past while. Any questions by council? I know that it's been a lot of work and I appreciate all the hard work that went into getting us to this point to be able to make a motion to pass this. So I guess I'd be looking for that now. A motion to pass.
I will make a motion to pass the resolution 2020-11, approving the final budget and levy for 2021.
Any second? Is there a second? Motion and a second. Any discussion? Questions,
discussed
comments?
this one.
We've hashed it out pretty good at this point in time. So
Yep.
those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
You know what? It's a resolution. So it would have to be a roll call.
Okay. Council Horvath? Council Huster?
But we're all here. Aye.
Council German?
Aye.
And I vote yes too, so it's 5-0. It's the first time we've done that,
Really? Oh, well, that's.
but it's
We're game.
just fine.
I'll make sure I write on that. But that's when we had a resolution at the school board. It was always a roll call.
Okay, we'll move on to item 8I, 2021 City of Zerota tobacco licenses. Brian?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, is that Miranda up on there? Just see an MR. Did you want to say anything?
That's Matt Rock.
Oh, that's Matt Rodney. Okay. Sorry, I thought Miranda was there. I thought maybe she joined to say something. But yes, we've got the 2021 tobacco licenses. Miranda has them all, and she submitted this memo for approval.
Any questions?
I thought maybe the chief, if there was any.
Incidents.
Chief's on the phone. Shannon, do you know if there were any problems with the liquor license applicants?
Tobacco.
Or, excuse me,
License.
tobacco license?
We talked about violations.
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
None, okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, a motion would be in order to approve the 2021 City of Zerota tobacco licenses.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second. Sorry, we can't.
Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor?
All right.
Opposed, abstained, motion passes 4-0-1. Move on to item 10J, liquor license refund discussion. Brian, I take it that people are curious whether or not we're going to follow the same formula we did last time about perhaps refunding part of their liquor licenses. I think if we remember right, we put a percentage on the number of days they missed and applied that to their their license for a refund?
The first refund we gave them was for the, our licenses run July 1st. So the first time when we issued a refund, it was for the beginning of the year, for that shutdown. Now we're approaching this, we're in our second, we go from now to what the license is. Staff is looking for a little direction just because we don't want to cut checks now and cut checks again. So if that's something you would like to do, we're kind of hoping to just some direction and how if you'd like to wait and see what the shutdown goes to, and once the shutdown's over, we prorate a refund or not do a refund, or what the issue would be.
And when do they have to pay their liquor license by?
They have to pay their liquor license by June. Usually we approve them in May, June timeframe, and then they have to go to the state. So usually we approve them by the second meeting in May.
Okay.
Has anybody's feelings changed since the last round? I mean, if they're not able to sell alcohol on site, there's really no reason for them to have.
And we would, this would be on sale.
I guess perhaps the time frame, looking to see perhaps doing it once when the lockdown's over. Does that, any other?
Yeah, and I guess my only opinion, we talked about that at the staff meeting here this week, is maybe doing a little bit more than what the actual shutdown is, just as a city to help our businesses a little bit more is what we can. I know I wanted Kim just to kind of see the numbers, what that would do to our budget. Let's say if they're shut. I know Pine Island, they refunded, I think, the whole year. So, I mean, I would just like to see the numbers and what that does, but maybe if it's only shut down for 8 weeks and it saves them $600, just maybe save them $900 or $1,000 to have the city help them a little bit more than what we can.
Perhaps leave it as a line item for a future date discussion.
Yeah, and then like I said, I'd like just to see some numbers, just to kind of see what that would do to our budget. But if we can help them, or I mean, pay them the 6 months, or I would be open to see that.
So no action needed tonight. Do you have your direction?
Yeah.
Brian, anything else to add?
Nope, that's what we needed. Thank you.
There's no further discussion about that. We'll move on to item 10K, our yearly liability coverage waiver form from the League of Minnesota Cities. Brian, it's something we see every year.
Yep, we see every year. I actually stole Neil's wording on this one. So every year LMCIT requests the city to take into consideration to waive the statutory limits of liability for insurance reasons. Every year we do not waive the liability limits. So please make a motion to not waive the liability limits for insurance.
Is there a
Make a motion to not waive the liability limits of.
motion and a second? Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Brian. Move on to our added item of new business, item 10L, set a special meeting on the 29th of December at 6 p.m. for ordinance 2020-02. Evidently, this needs to have its due course of notification before we can proceed.
That's correct. This was discussed a while back and I didn't get it on to an agenda. And then I realized recently that had to be an ordinance and it needs to be done before the first of the year in order to take effect. So, as a new administrator, I've seen firsthand all the hours that you all put in, and I don't think anybody realizes the time commitment. The last raise or the last increase was, 4 years ago, I believe. And then I did a little comparison, or I came up with some numbers. Actually, Elizabeth from Pine Island helped me out with that. She had these numbers because they had done something last year. But as you can see by those numbers, quite a bit lower than the area. So I'd like to, request that you set a special meeting for Tuesday, December 29th at 6 p.m. to consider the ordinance to adjust or amend the salary schedule for mayor and council.
Anyone have a conflict at that date and time? We at least have to have a quorum. So, I mean, if everyone's okay with it, then a motion would be in order to approve the 29th at 6 p.m. for the special meeting.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
I'm just putting all that in the budget. Right.
Yeah.
We'll,
We didn't know how to get it here.
Yeah.
We knew that part.
Apologize.
move on to reports. Kim.
Nothing nice.
That's the right answer. We'll move on to Ryan. Mike, give us, you know, it looks like he's left. Anything that you know that Mike would have wanted to?
Nope, he didn't let me know.
Fair enough. All right.
Oh, we just heard about that. You took a call on that?
Hopefully it'll get resolved soon enough. Anything else? Bill?
Additional questions on the construction?
Any questions for Bill? If not, thank you for joining us tonight. James?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Chief Callahan?
Nothing tonight.
Matthew?
Sent the letter to Benson's attorney on November 27th. They have 30 days plus 3 days mail time to comply with the items that I had mentioned. So we'll probably have to visit that at the next council meeting. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Brian?
Just one thing, I'm still working with LTD Broadband. They want to put antenna up on the water tower. We've got an agreement now that we're reviewing. I'm working with Matt to tweak that, and then I'm hoping to have it on the agenda for January 7th.
Excellent. Anything else? Okay. Well, I guess this isn't going to be my last meeting. I guess we're going to have another meeting. But I'll save perhaps my comments for then, but I don't know if everyone's going to be here or not, but I want to give my thanks to city staff and all the help that they've done to make this city run smooth through this damn year. It's been a year that I think we're all going to be glad to see done with. So I want to wish all of you the best of luck, especially Mayor-elect Hamel. I think that you got a great staff to work with and they're going to help you right through it. We've got a great new administrator. Your department heads are wonderful. They've been wonderful to work with all year. The way the department heads came together this year was meaningful because it meant that the city was run smoother, and we're all grateful for it. And to your crews, my gratitude is deep because we weathered a storm that we're not through yet. And to my fellow counselors, it's been an honor to serve this great city with each and every one of you. I'm especially grateful to Sarah and Tina for your guidance in helping us and get to where we need to be as a city and to have some great things happen. So I especially want to say thank you to both of you. So this, I guess, means that I don't have to say anything now the next two meetings. So perhaps I'll leave it at that. But I wish you all the best of luck, and I know that the city is in great hands. And Todd, you're going to do a wonderful job. So anything I can do to help you in the future, please just ask. And that's the end of my report tonight. Council Horvath.
Nothing.
Mayor-elect Hamel.
Nothing.
Council Hostetler.
Nothing. I'll save my comments for our next meeting, but thank you for your leadership, Brad.
And then,
Yeah, I had a whole thing I was gonna, no, I'm.
you do, Tom.
I know,
I'm calling that.
but I'll save it for our last meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Mayor Dracon will be back with us on the January 7th meeting, so we'll do the proper send off at that time.
Perfect.
So if there's no other business, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
The last official meeting.
Seriously, what, Brad?